everybody, welcome to the boat. What's happening? I am Tommy. You are live on the lifeboat. And we have got stuff to talk about. Dom, good to see you, man. Glad you're here. Burnsy25, what's up? Jan Marie, good to see you. Nurse Nat is here. Let me tell you what's going on, folks. Yeah, there's, in fact, truth to this. Hey, Bailey. Woofy, good to see you. Jan Marie, what's happening? Roger, glad that you're here. Mayor's Girl, good. Rona Cooley, Rosanna Dana, Debbie Blair, Kristen Melinda, Cooter by the Lake, lurking with a ranch. Like it, Kristen Melinda. Good to see you, Kate Murphy, Yvette, Tilly, Christine. Yes, it's okay to be happy about this. Unfortunately, it's not going to be as good a news as you hoped. Cindy Burnett, how are you? The little Jen that could. Kathy Wright without feathers. Carly. Lisa, Carol, Samantha, we got the crew. All right, let's fire this boat up so I won't bury the lead too much. P. Diddy was taken from MDC Brooklyn, the federal facility that he is being housed in under protective custody. He was taken to the hospital. Hey, Sherry LeBron, good to see you. Left Reese, but might go back. Oh, I didn't realize Reese was live. I didn't get the memo that Reese was live. That's a bummer. So, but I'm gonna be keeping this relatively short. But let me explain to you exactly what happened. So P. Diddy has got problems with his knees. He was taken out to the hospital for an MRI because he's been complaining about his knee. Anyone else in there that was complaining about their knee would be taken to the hospital for an MRI. But let me tell you exactly how this works out, because this the process of this is somewhat amazing. This happened on the 30th of this didn't happen today. We're just finding out about it today. He's already back at MDC Brooklyn, but it happened on the 30th of January. And the way that this would work is they would come and tell him the night before. They would say, hey, you're being pulled out of here today. They would tell you with about 15 minutes to spare. They don't want you making a phone call to tell someone you're going to a hospital, because then they can start combing hospitals trying to find a room. They're going to bring you in there. It's happened to me. They bring you in there under a number, not a name. And they have to do it with some really tight security. I'm somewhat amazed that somebody has not, Debbie Blair, not the Heine yet, I don't think. New sauces coming in tomorrow. Can't wait, Johnny. Nice, Mark Hardman. I love it. Getting some new sauces. I dig it. So they wake him up at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and they put him in shackles. He's going to have a belly chain. On the front of the belly chain, the handcuffs go through a little metal slot about this big so that your hands are at your waist. You can just about scratch your nose if you really pull your head down and you really sort of work it, but you're not going to be able to attack anybody. They're designing it so that you can't run and you can't fight. Layla, good to see you. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you're sick. Can we get some thoughts and prayers? Put some ones up there for our friend, the world traveling Layla Bradley. Got a boyfriend. He's always somewhere else. So she's traveling the world, going and seeing him. I love that. Me and my cat. Good to see you. April Goodson. What's happening? Hey, Feisty Kitty. Hey, Beck. So after they get him shackled up, they're going to take him down and put him in R&D. That is receiving and departure. It's where you do all of your coming in and out of the prison. It can only be through one place so that they can control where inmates are at all times. There is a call out sheet, so that they can, when they do count, they're going to know that Diddy isn't on the count because he's in a hospital. They're very careful about it. Now, once he gets brought to the hospital, they're going to bring him through an entrance that is not the front. They're going to bring him through a side or a back entrance, and it's usually something that you can come into through a parking garage if at all possible. They're going to walk him in. These guys will have pew-pews on them, and that's rare because inside, the COs never have a weapon for obvious reasons. What if we get it from them, right? The only place that is different is at the special management unit, where they carry tasers, all of them, and they also carry a nightstick. They also carry pepper spray. That's one of the places where everybody is carrying all three. That's rare. It's really rare. But they would have pieces that they would go and sign out, put them on, get in the van. There's going to be at least 2 cops transporting him, perhaps a third because he's high profile. Hello, Joanne Adams. Good to see you. Antoinette. I love that name. Laura Mae Gibson, good to see you. Hey, Lindy. So Joanne Adams is here as well. And Teresa. Then what happens is they bring him in, and P. Diddy gets his first dose, folks. This is his first dose. Welcome to being a convict, Sean Combs. Because what happened on that day, I promise you, is he saw in the eyes of every person that looked at him in there. You see, when you have a CO, a corrections officer, they don't look at you like you're trash. You may think that they do, and they probably are talking about it, but you don't notice it because they're around you all day long. They're surrounded by people who have broken the law. It's not a shock to their system. But bring P. Diddy into a hospital where normal folk have to do an MRI on him. They're not used to convicts. They're not used to seeing guys shackled. They're not used to seeing, and then they're going to have to say to the cops, because this always happens, they're going to need to take off all of that. You can't take all of that metal into an MRI. It is a magnetic resonance imager, right? So that magnet, that huge thing that goes around in circles, will suck those handcuffs right off your body. They will even, before you take an MRI, you got to sign a paper saying that you never worked at a metal shop where shavings can get in your eye or you get splinters from metal, because it will literally suck it right out of your body. So they're going to have to unshackle dude. And then they have to leave the room and leave him in there just with the tech. That's how it works. They're not going to, they'll be standing just outside. I've had MRIs done so many times. Now, if he were at a real prison, they drive an 18-wheeler out usually, and they'll do all of the MRIs in a day. And they will take the MRI inside the prison ground. It's in the back of a truck, and you walk up one side of it and you go in, and every inmate on the yard that needs an MRI will be done in one day. He's having an MRI because he has been complaining about pain in his knee. He's had allegedly 3 surgeries on it in the last year or 2. I can't remember what they quoted in the article, but yeah, his knee's got a boo-boo. Now, maybe he heard it in there doing some Navy SEALs, which are a type of burpee where you go down to do a push-up and then you kick one leg up, bring it all the knee all the way up to the chin and kick it back out. And convicts are fond of those. The Navy SEAL burpees, those are something that every inmate in there is doing if he's in shape. And yeah, I mean, maybe he's working out. Allegedly, he started working out again recently. Maybe that started to exacerbate it. I don't know. But he saw in those people's eyes the disgust that they got to be around somebody that they think is less than human. And they know who he is. They know what his crimes are. I used to watch the look on those people's faces, and they didn't know what I'm in there for. They don't have any idea, but you're a convict. You're a person that needs to be shackled. You're a person that needs to have handcuffs on. That makes you dangerous. And you see it in the eyes, and it's a painful thing. People that have done time will tell you, guys, this is the hardest part of doing time. You realize how badly you've damaged your persona. You realize how badly you've damaged your reputation. People look at you like you're dangerous. And I promise you, the diddler had to deal with that at this hospital. Then after the MRI process is done, they will shackle him back up, put him back on the bus, bring him back. But that entire process of just driving to the hospital to get an MRI will probably start about 3 o'clock in the morning, and it will probably be done at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. It is an entire day anytime you leave the system, right? Once you leave there, they would have to drive us to court. And we were at a place that was about 4.5 miles from the courthouse. They never once took me the same way twice. They never took me back home the same way twice. They were always trying to, because they're afraid of the Fast and Furious movies. They're afraid that old Vin Diesel and a couple of his friends are going to come rolling up to spring you out of the van. One of the worst experiences I had in prison was being transported to a hospital. And I was in Nevada at the time. I was kind of like where Diddy is. I was not yet in the feds. I was in a holding facility waiting to go to court. And I was in a van, and there were 3 other guys in there. We were all going to the hospital the same day. And the van has a metal mesh that separates the drivers from the back so you can't get at them. And there's like 5 rows. So they put a separate convict in each row. You can talk to people or whatever, but you're not sitting with anybody. And the cop just wasn't looking at what he's doing. I don't know whether he was looking at his phone or what, but at the very last second, he realized that he was going to rear end all the stop traffic in front of him. And he swung into the breakdown lane and jammed on the brakes because in front of him, somebody else had swung into the breakdown lane. It was like we came around the corner and there was a bunch of traffic. And I got launched out of that seat. And so did all of the guys I was with. And we just went tumbling. I mean, you can't move. You can't even put your hands out in front of you to stop yourself. And I went right into that metal mesh. I was the first dude. So I was sitting in the front and I hit that partition like you wouldn't believe. And then the dude from behind me ended up in the seat I was in, got launched over the top. And the guy from the back got really messed up. He hit the seat in front of him, and he was able to get his hands up, and it really badly damaged his wrist. Hey, Russ, good to see you, man. You will be able to catch Russ tonight on the Night Yard program we do here, where 3 convicts answer all prison questions. The one horror story I would love to hear would be Diddy having that MRI with the with the shakes still on. Yeah, you know what? That wouldn't bother me either. And if I know, look, if Diddy's smart, he's going to get there and he's going to say, I'm afraid of small spaces. This is something that almost every inmate who has a drug problem will try to work the system. And he'll get in there and say, hey, man, I can't go in that small place. Like, you don't understand, man. I'm not capable of getting inside something that small. They give you a very heavy dose of medicine to make it happen. And they will do it in the feds. I am legitimately claustrophobic. I really have a struggle going into an MRI tube. And you may not be able to tell by looking at me, but I'm not a small guy. So when they try to slide you into that tube, my shoulders are wide enough where I hit the damn machine. You know what I mean? Like, I have to do this number if I want that thing to slide in there. And I hate that. They usually have to make me almost unconscious in order to make it fly, if that makes sense. But this is, you're going to see a lot of thumbnails. I'm trying to save you some BS. They're going to clickbait the crap out of this. This is just an MRI. His knee isn't injured from something that happened in the facility. This is something that was scheduled because the guy is complaining about pain in his knee. And they're going to take you out and they're going to take pictures of it. They're going to do that. It's something that they're going to do. What about zip ties? Well, Kathy, that's a great question. They'll do an open MRI, says me and my cat. If they got one, if they have an open MRI, they got one of the donut ones, they'll use it. And I have been to many facilities where they said, no problem at all, we've got a donut. But I have been to some in the feds where they said, well, we'll dope you up. We'll give you, 20 milligrams of Valium. And usually you fall asleep on that, especially if you haven't been doing anything. And then they will move you in and move you out. But a lot of guys will try to work that and say that they're afraid of small places or whatever. They have zip tie handcuffs that are very popular, and they have them on transports. They don't really, it's not quite a zip tie. It's got a hard plastic piece in the middle, like a set of handcuffs, and you put your hands in it and they zip those things. I used to get them a lot because the regular cuffs, they can't get 3 clicks. You have to be able to get 3 clicks on it, and you're supposed to be able to put your finger underneath it. That can't happen with me because of the size of my wrists. So I've been put into those, and they can x-ray you with those on. They can do an MRI with that. It also seems to me that if they're doing an MRI in your knee, especially if they have a donut, the top half of your body is going to stay out of it, but they certainly are not going to allow them to be handcuffed. And they hate that. Like, I've had a lot of procedures done where they should have taken off the handcuffs and didn't. They just don't do it. But MRI is one that they have to. Every time I've ever been to an MRI, they took the handcuffs off for the procedure. It's weird too, because a lot of guys coming out of prison will get jobs doing stuff like being an MRI tech or being a CAT scan tech or being a phlebotomist. Those, you're not exempt from working in the medical field with a felony, like a lot of other fields are. Now, you probably couldn't be a doctor. You may not be able to be an RN, but those tech jobs, put a 2 in the chat if you've ever gone in to get an x-ray or get an MRI and the person doing it was covered in tattoos from the tip of their fingers to their neck. Because the last time I went in, the guy said to me, he has had surgeries. So I don't know whether or not the MRI would, I don't know whether or not he's faking. He very well may have problems. He's probably, though, trying to get some pain meds. What he's probably trying to do is work to get some pain meds. If you're addicted to pain medication, and you've got to know what's happening, right? All of the guys in there are jailhouse lawyers, or they've done a ton of time. He's probably not in with a bunch of rookies. These are guys that have been to prison and they know the system. And I'm sure that he says to people, I can't believe there's nobody in here that's got any dope. Do I think that he's clean? He's been in long enough to be clean. If he does not have a connection in there, then he's clean. If I had to guess, I'd say that's a hard unit to get dope in, right? When you're in a protective custody unit, unless the person in protective custody is getting it at visiting, the people in GP aren't going to sell to the guys in PC. They're not. And they're not because even if the guy's got a ton of money, they're afraid that the fellas will take you out for that. It is considered within the prison system bad form to sell anything to anybody who has bad paperwork, right? It's NC status. They got nothing coming. If they say, hey, can I borrow a soup? No, don't. And you can't talk to me either. Shut up. That's usually how that works. They can't make a phone call if someone else needs to make a phone call. There are places where they don't let people with bad paperwork sit down to eat, and I'm not playing. You can, I mean, look that up. It's not hard to. Sheridan, Oregon allows weirdos on the yard, but they will not allow a weirdo to sit down in the chow hall to eat. So when you go in there to eat, the guys with bad paperwork, the people that had, images of kids on their computers or whatever the hell they did to end up with that kind of paperwork in the feds. And the reason I bring that up is if you essay a kid, that's not a federal offense. It's a state crime. It only makes it a federal offense if you're flying them across state lines to do it, or if you're doing it in multiple jurisdictions, or it has to rise to a different level in order for it to end up being a federal offense. This is why the question earlier when someone said, don't you think that I've heard that he's eligible for the death penalty? Not on the 3 crimes he's in now. And I'm not trying to pick fights with other creators or whatever. I just don't see it. The human T does not carry the death penalty. Not on any statute I've read. The transporting people across state lines for prostitution, that does not carry the death penalty. And the racketeering charge doesn't. Now, if they know something we don't know, and there's a lot of people out there, folks, that know something we don't know. Believe that. There are leaks in this case, but people are afraid to out folks. You know what I mean? I had somebody talk to me about a different story the other day in an email. And it was a story that I would love to tell. But they came back afterwards and just said, the people that are involved in this story are terrified that I talked to you. I said, I'm never going to talk about that. I'll never bring it up. I'll never do a story on it. I don't want to out anybody and get anybody in trouble or do anything like that. But that's a lot of stuff like that with Diddy, because there are people whose proximity to this makes it so that they could really lose their job if they talk, kind of thing. Busby has not shown all his cards. You're damn right he hasn't. And I think that we're finding that, I'm sorry, but in the war of lawyers, the good guys seem to be winning. You understand this? In the war of lawyers, the good guys really seem to be winning, especially vis-a-vis like Sean Combs and Sean Carter. The Blake Lively thing, folks, I've been working on a Blake Lively show now for days. That's insane, that whole thing. And I will be doing a show on it, but I will say this, since you guys are, this is the crew. I'm not proud of the last show I did on Blake Lively. As this stuff starts to unravel, and I'm going to always be this way. I'm always going to defer and believe if someone says that they were in a hostile work environment or whatever, I'm going to believe that until it's proved otherwise. But it certainly looks like there are 2 really different sides to that story. A lot of stuff has just been released, but we'll do a show on that. Busby has definitely not shown his cards. I don't see where he could get a death sentence unless the superseding indictments that are going to come up are going to show bodies. And you know what? Boy, could that be big, man. Boy, could that be big. Blake equals Amber Heard. I tell you what, Russ, you're probably not far off, bro. And that's a bummer. That's a bummer to me. I want to believe. But the fat shaming stuff and all that, I don't know if you guys have seen all the text messages that are coming out, but trust me, I'm doing a whole show on this. Don't miss it, because it's hard to wrap your brain around. It really is. And it is such an indicator. Here's what I think people are missing on that story. We'll dive into it just for a sec. But you know what people are missing in the Blake Lively story, as far as I'm concerned? This is everything we're talking about. This is the privileged elite. She has recently come out and said, I'm not going to get deposed by that attorney. I don't like him. Sorry, what? You're not going to get deposed by the attorney you can't choose who deposes you. The way you make sure that you don't get deposed by a lawyer you don't like is you don't file a lawsuit. When you file a lawsuit, you're saying, okay, I'm going to tell you my story, which means sitting down in front of the enemy's attorney and letting him ask all the questions he wants. You can't say, you rich, spoiled, entitled little snot. I'm sorry, and what lawyer says to her, okay, I'll file that. The lawyer knows you can't pick that. What you would do every time is do what? Well, I'd rather not be interrogated or rather not be deposed by your best attorney. Do you have a hack? Do you have somebody you just hired? Maybe there's somebody that's on suspension for doing something wrong. Maybe they could do it. You can't choose that stuff. It's kind of sad. Honesty is the best policy. Truth in karma will prevail. Well, what I find amazing is this. She knows these texts are out there. She's not stupid. She's got to know that these texts exist. Why the hell would you go out and then sue somebody? Do you know that he is countersuing for $400 million? He is suing Reynolds and Blake Lively. Reynolds became a gangster all of a sudden and started acting like he was a rap star. Right? He went and put characters into plays allegedly. 20 minutes in, allegedly, he wrote a character into the Deadpool script, right? That is a representation of Baldoni. I'm not saying Baldoni's not a creep. I'm not. But the story that we got, that's not real. And the greatest expression in the world is there's three sides to every story. There is not a better expression. Your side, my side, and the actual side. What really happened. You know, we talked about this on my last show, but interpretation. Well, Woofy, here's what it comes down to. If you're not following that story, here's what it comes down to. Blake Lively took a real hit in her reputation. A lot of people out there that say the woman's the B word, and they like saying it. And you can look and see how bad. If you can quantify how much someone's screwing with you online by looking at things like how badly negative versus positive stories are out there. That's something that's easy to research. AI will do that for you. And all of a sudden, every story that came out about her was negative. So she has filed a lawsuit to say he did this. He hired a campaign to smear me, and he did hire some people that are known for doing smear campaigns. But I don't think Blake Lively needed any help. Sadly, I think that's what we're looking at, is that this woman didn't need any help destroying her own reputation. Imagine picking a fight, right? Like people do on, this is just like YouTube garbage. He's making movies where he's mocking this guy with characters that he's making almost effeminate. And the character gets shot in front of a flower shop. Now, the movie that she was in with this guy Baldoni, her character owns a flower shop. Like they're doing this one, right? And judges ain't going to put up with it. You watch. This isn't going to go well for those two. And it's going to hurt their reputation. People are going to start seeing them for what is wrong with Hollywood. Now, I'm not saying that they're shoving eggs up anybody's backside, right? I'm not saying any of that. But allegedly, this woman got in and basically tried to take over the guy's film. And this entitlement, you know, she wanted all, you know, send me all of the dailies. If you don't know anything about films, that's what you filmed each day. And then you want to get a look at it, right? But that never happens. The only person that's going to see that is the director and the editor until you get a final copy. She just kept raising hell until she got that. The entitlement with this person is off the chain. Miss Tiny Tornado says, who is Blake anyway? Never heard of her. Blake Lively's an actress that has done fairly well in Hollywood, and she's got what most people describe as that old Hollywood look. You know, she's a blonde bombshell, and everybody thought she was kind of a classy. Anyway, doesn't really work out that way, unfortunately. Is it illegal? Well, here's the thing. What she claims happened to her would be illegal. She said it was a hostile work environment where he made a lot of really inappropriate comments about her, described her as sexy or whatever. Guess what you do for a living? I'm sorry, man. We got to get a little tougher. You represent other people. You pretend to be a character. You know, in her texts, she described herself as sexy. If you're texting with me and describing yourself as sexy, and then I say something like, well, you kind of look sexier in this one. That man called me sexy. Okay, there's a problem there, man. There is. Don't use the word to describe yourself in a conversation with somebody and then yell at them if they use the same word. That's kind of janky. And as you see her evidence, what you realize is that she cherry-picked an awful lot of stuff to make this guy look bad. That's what it looks like, right? And that's what he's alleging, and that's what his attorney is alleging. The one she will not sit down and do a deposition with. No. Pick another attorney. Pick another attorney. Who are you, man? Like, who does that? God, I wish I knew that was a possibility. I didn't really like the prosecuting attorney, and she didn't really like me. I would have done a lot better if I could have said, hey, can we get someone else to do it? I don't like you. She was a dog face back in the day when she was on Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I never saw that film. I never saw that film. Ryan Reynolds Chickadee. Yes, it is the They Are Married. And I had... Dodo Max, there is not a chance in hell of anybody freeing Diddy. God help us. I know that you're doing this just for a shot at the president, but that's one of the dumbest things anyone's ever said. People, do you understand that where this guy is right now, the entire world hates Diddy. No one's doing anything to let this guy out. It's a silly proposition. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'd be willing to bet you my life, right, against $15 that he ain't getting a pardon. These are some of the most heinous accusations. And in that last superseding indictment, they said we're looking at more coming. There will be more superseding indictments. It said that in the last superseding indictment. They even said, we'll try to get all of them in by such and such a date. No, I promise you, nobody is going to. The number of victims that this man has. Do you guys know who Willie Sutton? Willie Sutton? Is it Sutton? No. Shoemaker? Willie Shoemaker. Might have been Willie Shoemaker. Anyway, famously, Dukakis pardoned somebody who then went out and R-worded and killed someone. It is everyone's biggest fear in life, right? In life, it's everybody's biggest fear that as a politician, you're going to free someone and they're going to go out and commit a crime that's going to end your career. It's that Willie Schumann or Willie whatever moment. Somebody can look that up. I can't remember what the name is. I don't remember the way I used to, sadly. But we're going to see Diddy, not just, in my opinion, you hear that? In my opinion. We're not going to just see Diddy go all the way to the box and get convicted on this. Diddy has become the straw man for everything that's wrong in entertainment and Hollywood. And all of the people who are guilty as sin out there want this guy to take all of the crime and all of the bad stuff and be the face of it, very much like Weinstein was the face of the Me Too movement when it came to films in Hollywood. You think he was the only one out there doing that? This power structure that they've got, the elites that are running the entertainment industry, when someone gets picked off from the herd, it's just like watching Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. The rest of them are kind of happy that maybe one got taken down. And maybe all those cats will dine on him for a while and we can just keep doing what we're doing. I think that's very realistic what we're looking at. Notice there's not a human being on planet Earth other than Boozy or whatever his name is that came to Diddy's defense. Who's out there arguing for this mogul, for this guy that really helped move that community, the black community forward? What did he say about himself? He was an example of black excellence. He had the black billionaire brunches. He was really doing a lot for the community, and I'm not being a wise ass. He was. Whether you like him or not, the guy did a lot for his community. 5 million votes allegedly he got out. I don't care if you like what party he's getting people to vote for. If you get 5 million people to vote, you're doing something. That's huge, man. And it would also make you real popular with whatever political party you could dump the 5 million votes on. But he didn't dump it on the Republican Party, so I don't think there's a great chance of the Republicans stepping up to give a pardon to a guy that's got 100 alleged cases out there waiting to drop. Busby said 125. We've seen 30 so far, 33 or some crap like that. They just keep coming, but they come really slowly, which is odd because Busby told us they would come fast. We'd see all 120 in the next month or so. Well, we know he's getting paid. Right? There are people settling, and that's clogging it up a little bit. Got to do that paperwork. Anytime you get someone that says, you want how much to keep my name out of this? Okay. Then they got to get together, do that. And then they negotiate back and forth. Maybe the person comes with a counter offer. We want 10 million. Tell you what, I'll give you 5. Give you 5 million. We shut this thing up. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that none of us know about. I promise. I promise. There is an awful lot going on behind the scenes that we just do not know about. Nice. By the way, this evening, if you're having a hard time going to sleep, come by the Lifeboat and fall asleep to the dulcet tones of Tommy Scoville reading you Alice in Wonderland. The first couple of chapters are going to be up this evening. So do stop by and check that out. Now Carter's got his own legal issues. And if Busby's last filing is true, since there's 820 of you in here, let's assume that not all of you have heard this. Right? Let's assume that not everyone has heard this. In Busby's last filing, he said something very unusual. He said Sean Combs owned a house within driving distance of where the VMAs were. He said a couple of streets over, there was a Jumbotron. He shot holes in everything that Spyro said in his little infomercial for why his client shouldn't even have to step foot into a courtroom. Do you understand how every one of these things looks the same? Once again, we've got a very wealthy person in Hollywood who's saying, well, I don't have to go to court. What, you want to go to court and let 12 people decide this? No, I'm already telling you it's BS. Why would we have to go to court? Didn't you hear me? It was BS. Here's a picture of me at a nightclub. Here's another picture of me at someplace else. Couldn't have been at that place. I'm at a nightclub. It's a weak ass defense. I mean, it really is. But he went out almost infomercial style, right? He had a video, he had it shot, he had the multimedia stuff. He was showing us images. There is no house within that distance. We've gone and looked. And within that radius, there is no White House that doesn't exist. And the one with a horseshoe driveway or any such thing. Well, it turns out that according to Busby, allegedly, not only does that house exist, but it's owned by Sean Puffy Combs. And he bought it in 1998 and allegedly sold it in 2023. Allegedly. Now, it's also alleged that it may have been white with a horseshoe-shaped driveway, which is what this kid described, this autistic child that they allegedly essayed. Now, both parties vehemently deny that this happened. But normally, when somebody gets sued for something like this, your response is you get a legal team and you put together a defense and you trust that if this didn't happen, you're going to get your day in court and you're going to have a chance to prove it. But that's not quite how it happened. Now, maybe everybody with a couple of $1 billion goes full on gangster when somebody accuses them of something like this. But it's kind of disingenuous to say a house doesn't even exist, especially if you were partying at that house within 30 or 40 days of the actual crime taking place. And that has been alleged too, that they hung out there, that there's proof that Diddy and Voldemort hung out at this particular house. Now, we don't know if that's true, but that's what Busby is saying in that last filing. So his girlfriend announces, hey, that album, I'm going to go tour on that. You realize, I've told this story before, right? But at one time, because of crimes that I had done in my past, you know, if you looked up my name, you were going to get all kinds of dirt from all of the crimes that I had done. And then somebody with the exact same name got hired by Britney Spears. And the two of them actually got into a physical altercation, Britney Spears and this manager of hers. And you couldn't then find anything about me because the same names, it just pushed it completely out of anything. And that happens all the time. We live in a world now where information and everything we're doing here you can push things out of the zeitgeist so that nobody talks about it. Do you know how many people, when this first broke, there were people out there going, yeah, I don't know, man. This looks like a money grab from Cassie Ventura. This is a money grab. She was into it. She wanted to get a record contract. She slept with the guy to get the good record contract. She got tons of money. She traveled the world. And now she wants a payday because the two of them aren't together anymore. That narrative was on tons of people's videos. There were people making that video. And then CNN drops a video of Cassie Ventura getting beat down and everything changed. I don't care how much you were trying to get a good story out there on Diddy. There's no chance anyone's going to hear it. Over all of the shouts of, oh my God, did you see how bad he beat that girl? You get it? Okay. As we talked about in the last one, they're trying now to try to get one of these freak off tapes out. That's Diddy's big play. He's got to get this freak off tape so that the world can see it, because he believes that the freak off tape would convince everybody that what was going on in that room was consensual. And you know what? I'm sure that that's how it would look. Is that hard for people to understand? Honestly, if we just say, okay, let's assume that this is real. That beat down that we saw was her running away from a freak off. Allegedly, there was a male Smex worker in that room. She was running away from the fun that she was going to have. Porn stars, actresses, actors go on in front of a camera and perform. And it's being alleged by the prosecution that Cassie Ventura was forced to perform. She was forced to look like she was having a good time. What happens if she doesn't look like that? Well, we saw that. This is what the prosecution is saying. We saw what happens when she says no. That was the hallway scene. Now, I don't know if that's the truth. I don't. She wanted out of that room for some reason. She looked like she was in a hurry, and he was not having it. His response, I don't care why she was leaving that room. That's one of the most disturbing things we've ever seen. He was punching her like she was a convict, and he was like they were both men. He was not treating her. It's just a disturbing thing. But how fast I know he's in there doing this one, right? We got to get one of these sex tapes leaked. This is why they keep filing. From a logistical standpoint, honestly, what difference does it make if you're sitting in a room, right? where a third party that's got nothing to do with the case is watching to make sure, or looking to make sure that that video can't get leaked. Who cares if you have to view it in X location? You can't view that and then make your case. You need to be able to look at this thing for what, 40 hours, 50 hours? You just want to watch porn, or you want to leak this out to the street because you hope that by seeing a video of her performing, that you can taint the world the way that the real tape of you beating on her tainted the world. Because that changed everything. You know that. Put a 2 in the chat if your mind got real clear after watching Cassie Ventura get beat up. And don't give me the allegedly beat up. He apologized. He's since taken down the video, but he went to Instagram. Man, rock bottom. It was one of the worst apologies I've ever seen in my life. He didn't actually apologize. And then he said he got help. He was a drug addict. He got help. They found him with 3 bags of dope when they got him. And guess what? Allegedly, he had a girl upstairs waiting. They got him in the lobby. He had already had the room prepared for a girl's birthday. You know what? I'm not trying to be a douche, but what girl's going to go hang out with that dude with all of this going on? Think about this. This was the night he got arrested. There was a girl waiting upstairs ready to party with Sean Combs. God help us, man. God help us. I mean, is that crazy? You're right. Doesn't matter why she's living or where she's going. You can't treat a person like that. But if she was leaving to get away from a freak off, if that's the truth, if the prosecution can document that in that room at that time there was a male sex worker and she was trying to get away from this man is never going to sniff the air of freedom ever again. I don't know how he possibly could. He was apologizing for getting caught, says the nurse who loved me. And boy, that's right. Boy, that's right. And you know something? A lot of us here are recovering drug addicts, right? It's that kind of show. You got to know what that's like, right? All of us. I was that dude. Man, I'm sorry. No, you're not. You can't be. You got to get those chemicals out of your life before you can be sorry. When he made that video, folks, I promise you he was wasted. I promise you. I promise you. And it's not because I'm Nostradamus. It's because I was a heroin addict. I was addicted to opiates. You can't take any time off. We would know. You see a video of a guy who's addicted to opiates. When he's not on opiates, that's when you'll know something's up. You see him high, you'll never know. I remember the first time somebody said that to me, and it was one of those epiphany aha moments that was one of the worst moments of my life. It was a rock bottom thing because the person said, I never knew he did dope until I saw him sober. But that speech he made was an embarrassment. It really was. You know what? Tisa Tells says he went to the hospital to get Tucci, allegedly. Well, the only way he's going to get Tucci in a hospital is to have somebody meet him there and hand it off. And I'm telling you now, because I don't argue with content creators, and I'm not arguing with her. And I'll tell you this. She's got sources to the point where if she says that this went down, I don't know that I doubt her often. I really don't. But what I will say is this. They really got to be slick. Because you don't know when you're going to be at the hospital. They don't say to you, hey, we're going tomorrow at 5:00 so that you can get on the phone. And let me tell you how careful they are. When the day that they're going to send you off, right? Let's say you're getting shipped out at 3:00 in the morning or whatever. At 7:00 that night, they're going to turn your phone off. The night before, they're going to kill your phone. And if you get on a line and start talking to someone else, right? You also don't know what hospital they're going to take you to. He's at MDC Brooklyn. You got any idea how many hospitals they can take him to within a driving distance of there? What is Tucci? Tucci is a designer substance that has stuff that is similar to it's a methyl-based drug. So it's got upper in it, and then it's got some stuff to make you feel groovy. It's fake blow, right? They call it pink cocaine. It's not. It is pink, and it's food coloring that makes it pink. But if you were to get 3 batches from 3 states, you'd get 3 different products because there isn't really a standardized version of this. It's a bathtub full of crap that they throw together. It's a club drug, so it's going to give you kind of an ecstasy kind of a feel is what they're going for, but a low rent version of it where you have to keep going back and sniffing, right? You have to keep going back and sniffing. That's kind of but Picture. So I was married to an attorney. I had a stroke and I was in the hospital for 5 days. 5 days I was in there. Might have even been 6. Anyway, I couldn't get a phone call out to her. She didn't know where I was. If she called the jail, all they told her was I was having a medical problem. They wouldn't, no comments could be made, nothing. They put you in there under a number, not a name. It would be super hard to predict all of the variables that would be necessary for someone to be able to meet him there and slip him some Tucci. That really would be it. It really would be a miracle. It would be a miracle. You don't know what day they're going to take you. You can complain about a knee problem and say, I need an MRI, and it could be 4 days or it could be 3 months. There's no way to know. And they're always going to take you and lock your butt down at 3 o'clock in the morning the night before. You could have, in theory, you could have somebody in there. I'm just working through any ways that you could pull this off. You could have a homeboy make a phone call, and the homeboy would have to drop some kind of a code. Hey, the Eagle has landed, right? Hey, dude flew the coop, right? Now you're going to have to search every hospital within a 10 to 15 mile range of MDC Brooklyn. And you're going to have to start going room to room to room. Now, if you did find that room, you know what you would find? You would find 2 U.S. Marshals at a minimum outside that door, garden. And they ain't going to let you in there, I promise. So it would really be he's a smart dude. He's devious as hell, but is it addicting immediately? No, it is not. In fact, it's I wouldn't consider it a wildly addictive substance. The drugs that kind of make you trip, the drugs where, you know what I'm talking about? Like LSD, mushrooms, ecstasy, ketamine, the drugs that really take you on ketamine maybe a little bit differently, because ketamine is an analog of PCP. It's a little different than the hallucinogens. But in order to get off on that drug, in order to feel that, you release so much brain chemical at once that if you want to do the drug the next day, you have not replenished enough brain chemical to get off. If you know what I'm talking about, if you've done a lot of LSD, you do LSD for 4 days in a row, and by day 5, you're not going to feel anything on it, even if you have to take mountains of it to get the same kind of an effect. And I mean mountains. If you eat it for 6 days straight, by the 6th day, you're eating 100. Oh, a coyote just ran by my window. Big coyote. You eat 100 hits to get the same feel that you'd get off of a couple. It's a very strange, all of those disassociative trip drugs. And 2C, if it's made right, it's kind of a disassociative if they make it right. There's 2C that's really a lot more like just pink speed than anything else, but it should have methyl dioxymethamphetamine, some amount of it in there, MDMA, MDMT, or something to give you that, because it's a club drug. It's like a rave drug. Where's the Roadrunner? You know, we do have Roadrunners here. I guarantee you that when they were putting this all together, they did it here. the Roadrunner and Coyote, we see them. We see the Rabbit. We see all of them. They're every day, actually. The spine-tailed swift, the Roadrunner, goes by my house every single day. And the speed that those things can run at, they don't fly. But boy, oh boy, can they run. Juana Love says Molly and Trank. Yeah, so Molly is a name that evolved from ecstasy. When we were younger, we called it ecstasy. And one of the reasons, believe it or not, for that is there was a lab that was cranking that crap out in the old days from Germany. And it was like, I'm making this up because I can't remember the name of the company, but I'm giving you an idea. But it was like xenophobe technology, something or other. The X, the T, and the C were an acronym, but there was an X, a T, and a C on some of those early pills. And but so they started calling ecstasy Molly. It's the same thing. It's methyl dioxymethamphetamine. The MDMA is Molly. And usually the kids refer to the purer version of it, not the garbage street stuff, but the good stuff that's actually MDMA, they call Molly. Trank, on the other hand, is a combination of 2 substances. And they're not always the same substances, but they're always going to call the recipe Trank. One of them is going to be a ripping strong opioid, right? Not opiate, which comes from a poppy. Opioid, which is made in a lab, right? That's the difference. And it's a man-made opioid, and it is mixed with a tranquilizer that's probably as close to a benzo as it is anything else, right? But it's actually made to knock out horses and cows, equine and bovine tranquilizer, which is why they nicknamed the stuff Trank. And it is a super dangerous drug. It is killing hundreds of people every day in our country. It's the number one cause of death. People will say that the number one cause of death is fent overdose. Fent and xylazine mixed together is Trank, and that's what most people are dying from is the Trank. They're also making the same recipe, except they're using iso and phytonidazines or nitazines. This was a painkiller that was designed in the 1950s, but was decided was way too strong. It's honestly like 50 times the strength of fentanyl. There's no reason in the world that anybody should be making this, except it's very cheap to make. They mix that with xylazine, and the people think they're doing fent. They're actually doing something even stronger than fent. It's a dangerous time to be doing any, and I mean any, substances. They come in a powder, they come in a pill, they come on the street. I wouldn't be doing street drugs today. I simply would not be doing any street drugs today because there's just not anything out there safe, boys and girls. That's the truth. I wish that were not the case, but people die snorting cocaine because they think, they think they're doing blow and they get fent. They're cutting it into everything. And if you've done drugs for any length of time or have experimented with it, you think to yourself, why would anybody mix in a downer with an upper, right? Speedball? No, it's because the stuff's so cheap that if you can add a little bit, you're going to just get euphoria. They're not really giving you blow anyway. Blow's kind of gone. Now they take meth, they take something to numb you out, and they put something in to give you euphoria, and they create this fake stuff. I've told this story before, but when I went to prison in the state, I got busted. I went in, it was possession of stolen property, whatever. When they pull out my blood to test it, they come back and give me the list of all the stuff I failed for. And they're like, you failed for methamphetamine. I'm like, I don't do methamphetamine. Like all I do is speedballs. I don't do anything else. They're like, you failed for PCP. You failed for methamphetamine. You failed for cocaine. You failed for heroin. And I'm going, there's no chance. The PCP and the amphetamine is a fake Coke. They put in just enough of the PCP so you feel a little of the euphoria that you get when you do blow, and the meth keeps you up. And we all knew something was up because you shouldn't be up for a day and a half. That's not what's supposed to happen with blow. But there's not really much blow left. They can make it cheaper fake than they can make it real, which is really kind of crazy, right? But it's the truth. Did they stop making ludes? Oh, yeah, ludes are long gone. Ludes are long gone. Been gone since the 80s. The Quaalude was, they actually had hearings on the Hill, Capitol Hill, and they had hearings where they brought doctors in. And there were doctors that said there's nothing to write a prescription for this for. It was the most prescribed drug in America, and there was no doctor that could tell you what would be a correct reason to write a prescription for Quaaludes. The real reason was to party. I mean, yes, it would put you to sleep. It was sort of like it was because it was a barbiturate. But you've seen Wolf of Wall Street. If you didn't fall asleep, if you fought through it, and a lot of guys would do just a little bit of blow. So because if you didn't fall asleep during that window of time when you should have fallen asleep, then all hell breaks loose. Now you're wide awake, but you should not be. You should definitely be, you should be sleeping. The opium poppy. Yeah, most of them started that way. And then what happened is we figured out something. We figured out that you were going to max out the strength of your product by how strong your plant was. You couldn't surpass the strength of the plant. So whether it was morphine, right, which comes from the poppy, or whether it was heroin, which is, so you got morphine and you have diacetylmorphine where they just change this much, but it passes the blood-brain barrier and you get the relief or the high or whatever the feeling is considerably faster with H. H is actually a name brand, and it was owned by the Bayer Company, the people that brought you those cool little pills. Now owned by Monsanto. Tell me Monsanto shouldn't own heroin. Doesn't that check out? Why is Diddler in the hospital? Asked Turd Ferguson. He went in to get an MRI on his knee. He's had multiple surgeries on that knee, and he's been complaining to the BOP. Now, he had guys in there telling him, hey, man, if you go out there, you complain about this knee enough, they do give out medication for people's knees. And if you're a junkie, a real one, he's been doing dope for 10 years, 20 years, and he's been doing this every day, he will take a surgery if he can get one. He will do anything he can do in hopes of getting some pain medication at the end of that. That's what it means to be a junkie. And by all accounts, he is. Right? By all accounts, the Diddler absolutely was addicted to all of this stuff, man. That's true. They used to sell it in little bottles in pharmacies. You can Google image searches of old advertisements. Yep. Wow. Tommy, when I was a baby, I cried so much the doctor gave me phenobarbital. Were they drugging me? I'm not a doctor. I don't play one. Phenobarbital. I got wasted on that drug a lot, and I was in my 20s. I can't imagine that drug being given to a kid in any amount. That's terrifying. Phenobarbital is a barbiturate. Google barbiturates and read about what phenobarbital is, and you can make a decision whether or not they were drugging you. My opinion, and I am not a doctor, I am a drug addict. My opinion is they were drugging you. It is a very heavy duty drug, man. You were describing the 1970s for me, says Lindy. You know, a lot of people that were alive at that time, like I talk about this all the time on the boat. Start looking for the number 714 in movies. It's the guy's badge number from Dragnet. It's the number on the door from the burglar wore plaid or the murderer wore plaid. It was a Steve Martin movie. But when he gets to the door to knock, it says 714. They do this all the time. The case number will be 714, but they work 714 into things. I told this story, but when I got arrested for the pew-pews, for the gun run, they came to my house and I had a briefcase made by Halliburton Zero. And when you opened it up, it had a place to put 2 Desert Eagles, right? Those big, huge guns. So there was a 44 Magnum Desert Eagle, 50 cal Desert Eagle, and they went into this beautiful briefcase. And the guy says to me, "What's in the briefcase?" I said, "Weapons." And he goes, "Well, give us the combo or we're going to break the thing open." I go, "Dude, I told you what's in it. It's not like I'm trying to hide the crap." And he goes, "What's the combination?" I said, 714. And everybody in the room starts laughing at the same time. Every FBI agent in the room started laughing. I'm like, what's funny? All you old men apparently partied on this stuff and then got right. Yeah, kind of embarrassing. But Jack Webb, great actor. You're right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. You'll see that number come up again and again and again because everybody abused that. That was the most abused substance in the world. That was the original disco biscuit, right? And then our friend English Sean changed that up, started bringing over the MDMA, Molly. That's what Sean was selling so much of in the rave scene in Arizona. And people, I don't know how much you know about English Sean, but he really did he was responsible for the rave scene in this state more than anyone else. He's kind of a legend in Arizona. He really is. They gave me phenobarbital as a baby as well. That's so frightening to me. Now, maybe I'm not a doctor. Maybe the significance of 714 on every Quaalude, no matter who the manufacturer was, the number on the pill was 714. So the original ones were not lemon. Everybody likes to say that. That's not the truth. The first ones I ever saw before lemon ever started making the stuff was Rora, RORA. RORA 714. And that was the Quaalude. And then lemon made them, and lemon made them better. They did, but they weren't the original. They were just better. And that was the lemon 714. And then there was the Mandrax, and even Mandrax said 714 on it because that was the generic whatever number for methaqualone. Good morning from Western Australia. Do you know what is going on with Too Strong attacked Sean Atwood because of the Ronnie Bow? Too Strong attacked Sean Atwood. I did not know that. I am not. That's not something that I was aware of. It's something that I will look into. But that's kind of a bummer. I hate when anybody attacks anybody. I found you through Sean Atwood a few months ago. Love Boston. I appreciate that, man. I really do. And I'll tell you what, people, Sean Atwood's a good man. Bottom line, I wouldn't be over on that channel doing what I was doing if he wasn't. He is a good man. There's a lot of, I don't want to get attacked by anybody any more than anyone else, but I watched, I'm not exaggerating, 45 seconds of Ronnie Bow when he was talking about Atwood. But the two things that I walked away with, he said, he was going off on white people, and I don't care what anyone says. You can be prejudiced no matter what color you are. But he was going off on white people. And one of the things that he said was, hey, Harvey Weinstein got let out because he's white. Harvey Weinstein didn't get let out. He went to the hospital the same way Diddy did. And then he got brought back. But that man never got out. He's in prison. Google it. But that's a ridiculous thing to say. And to say that Sean Atwood never went after Epstein may be the dumbest thing anyone's ever said. You won't find anybody on the internet that went after Epstein like he did. Cost him his channel more than once, right? So I don't know. There was some credibility issues as far as I was concerned with all of that. And I'll stand by my friend. Bottom line, I stand by my friend. And that's all I got to say about that. Thank you, Harvey. And he really is a good dude, man. The guy's a solid dude. And that's usually how Tramadol is garbage. You know how you can tell Tramadol is garbage? They give it out in prison. If they give it out in prison, it's not going bang. It's not, and I don't mean that in terms of getting high. I just mean it's not a great painkiller. If it was a great painkiller, they would restrict its being given out. That's distressing. You hate to hear that. That he said on Maggie's channel that he was planning this against Sean from day one. Well, that's just disgusting, isn't it? I'm not a big fan of people that talk about other content creators. I said that as an ex-pain pill addict and in general, without being addicted to pills, now still garbage. Yeah, it is. It's not a very effective substance. Johnny says Tramadol isn't fit for human consumption. You know what they call them inside? Mandy's. You remembered Mandy's? Yeah, those were Quaaludes too. How did I get stabbed in prison? Did you just call me a chomo? Man, that's not very nice. Kathleen Leary. That's not a very nice thing to say. If you got a wrench, would you make sure I don't ever have to see Kathleen Leary ever again? You know what a chomo is? I've never touched a kid, you sick bastard. Get rid of that person. I got stabbed in prison because of dope. I did a crap load of heroin, and somebody said, you need to remove the old bald guy with the cane. Yeah, my problem was drugs. Yes, correct. After 13 years in prison, they finally tracked me down, you genius. God, I hate the ignorant on planet Earth. I really do, man. Yeah, there's a lot of malicious intent toward a lot of us. And you guys can't see who said it because my mods are badass, but I just had to throw that out. You're never going to have to see them again. Don't worry about it. There are idiots all over the place. But this is what happens when you take a side. We're moving toward love, and I got news for you. Those who move toward hate are going to go after me. They're going to go after my friends. They're going to go after my crew. We're making waves, people. And you know how you know that? Because there's 928 people in here watching this. We have people that aren't going to watch the Grammys tonight because of the fact that we talk about this stuff. We have a crew of people here that are motivated and moving forward. We got a group of people here that reach out to politicians to complain. We got a group of people here that write letters. I got almost 1,300 of them for you to try to free a black man you've never met. Because us racist sons of bitches over there at the Atwood channel wanted to make sure that this black guy gets out. And not because he's innocent, but because he's awesome. Because he's paid his debt to society 10 times over. And he deserves to get out and leave the earth a better place than he found it. But that's it, man. If you're not moving toward love, then you're probably on the wrong channel. Capiche? Steelers Princess says, hi, Tommy, I'm late. What about the rumor Cassie had stolen a bag of money from Diddy and that's why he went after her? You mean from that night? And that's why he was going after her in the hallway? Doesn't pass the smell test. Doesn't pass the smell test. Cassie Ventura, the jewelry collection that this man was dropping on her, the watch collection that Cassie didn't need cash like that. She didn't. That man paid for everything. He was trying to get out of that hotel room. I don't know why. But even if Cassie took a bag of money, what he did, there's no excuse. I don't care if she stole the money and then stabbed him. What happened in that hallway, that was not self-defense. That was a guy beating down a human being, a woman. And guess what? There isn't an excuse for that ever. I know every once in a while someone will say, yeah, well, if a chick hits me, I'm going to remove you from my chat forever if you say that. I've been hit by chicks. Can't tell you how many times I've had a woman hit me. You don't hit women. I'm sorry. Genetically, we're really different. I would hurt a woman. I'm not built like you guys are. I'm 210 pounds. I have a different muscle structure. It's just a jacked up thing that it happens. And it's jacked up. I'm sorry. But that entire that there's something wrong with hip hop when it comes to the treatment of women. Because even when you hear people, and I love these guys, but you hear some of these people talk and the casualness with which they'll say, yeah, well, he is a guy that puts hands on women. And you're good with that. Or it's just that it's so pervasive inside hip hop that it's just kind of assumed that a lot of people are going to do it. That's crazy. There's a lot of speculation. Someone just said that Obama's going to be in trouble. I don't believe, and I love that story. You don't think I want to come out and run with that story? By the way, either. I don't care. If we could tie a president to this, I'll go live for 2 days. It would be the most exciting thing in the world. We'll have 5,000 people in the 10,000 people in the chat listening to it. It doesn't pass the smell test as well. You have a Secret Service detail. Yeah, Clinton managed to ditch them to allegedly go to the island, right? But we know about it. We know the time he ditched the crew. They talked about it. I just don't see Secret Service standing around, especially when you consider some of the Secret Service that guarded Obama have come out and become content creators. And while they don't talk a lot about the very specific details, they would have talked about that. I think if he was dirty, we'd have known about it. I just don't think Obama's dirty in this. I'm sorry, it's an opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but I just don't see it. Oh, Frank Sinatra. What a cool thing to say, man. Tommy, you should be an investigator on this case for the prosecution. I doubt anyone will be able to piece it together better. I hope they got at least one criminal on staff. I'm not joking. I hope they got at least one person who might have broken the law a little bit. I mean, but the way they handled the phone calls, the fact that they were letting him use those pack numbers and just stack. By the way, folks, the question has been asked so many times about whether or not I'm going to be able to get the phone calls that I am doing everything I can to try to find out if that's a possibility. It is my opinion that they've never let that happen before, but I don't know why not. And I'd like to FOIA to get these. I'd like to be able to hear some of the things that have said. This rumor has gotten a lot of traction. Another rumor, Kamala was attorney general back then, released police reports never went through on the victims. This has been alleged. There's a lot of people talking about this. But all I can find is the people talking about it. I can't chase it down to where there's any kind of a smoking gun at all. It's just people talking about it. And I'm going to keep looking. I promise. I'd love to be able to run with that. Thank you, Kim. You know what I'd like to believe, honestly, that the biggest difference between me and them is that what I did was a means to an end. I wasn't stealing money from banks because I dug it. Wasn't stealing for a living or ripping people off because it was fun. The hustles and the cons and all of that stuff was to keep my arm fed. And that was it. As stupid as this sounds, I didn't believe it was possible to live without it. I thought that I had gone past the point of no return, and it was like the Ring for Schmiegel. That honestly, I was too far gone to ever be able to live a life without sticking needles in my arms every day. And it was $700 a day that you got to come up with. That's $5,000 a week. You know what I mean? It's not a gazillion dollars, but if you're out hustling to try to get it, it's a lot of money to have to steal every single week. And my crimes were designed to keep me from getting high. Phone calls from prison is a different provider. Because I have contacted them. The TrueLinks service that the feds use, I have got to find a very different way to get at that, but I'm trying to. Yes. See, Dan Bongino would be screaming it from the rooftops if Obama went to a freak off, etc. The reason is Dan Bongino is a conservative talk show host, was one of the Secret Service during the Obama administration. And he's not an Obama fan. If there was something out there like that, he would be screaming it from the rooftops. I do believe that. Used to go in and put groups on for ladies in prison here in the 90s. Oh, I love that, Kim. I really do. I love that. Core Links. That's right. Core Links. I hate Core Links. It's the worst. Don't you hate Core Links? That terrible woman's voice. This call is from a federal inmate. And I listen. I'd like to have $1 for every time I heard that woman's voice say, This call is from a federal inmate or an inmate at a federal facility. I'd be rich. I'd be rich. I made phone calls every single day. I got 300 minutes a month. So I would talk for 10 minutes a day, unless you're fighting with your girl and then you go, screw it, I'll call you back. And then there are days that you'd have to skip because I couldn't buy people's phone times like the diddler was doing. By the way, he can't either. Being an opiate addict is not for the lazy. Tara, that's a great comment. Listen, I want to make sure that everybody is here tonight. I am going to be doing Night Yard. And I'll tell you what, people, if you've never seen Night Yard, you're going to dig it. You can ask questions of 3 inmates. 2 are federal inmates. 1 is a state. Survived California's nastiest prison system in the United States. Shadow Woman, good to see you. If you show up, you can start asking questions. We'll post way ahead of time. So if you want to get there 20 minutes early and put questions up, just put Q's there, and we will answer all your questions. We usually go for a couple of hours. It is myself, it is Russ, and it is my friend Sam. Now, I'll tell you this for anyone who's here. I knew him as Casper, and he knew me as Rock or Rocco. And when you guys aren't watching, we call each other Casper and Rock. And I put Casper up in one of the thumbnails, and people said, I think he's wanting to go by Sam. And I reached out to him and said, does it bum you out if I call you Casper? It's an old habit. And he said, I'm considering whether or not I'm going to use that as kind of a YouTube name. He said, because there's obvious reasons to distance your real name from YouTube because people get weird sometimes. To keep it real, the word fan comes from the word fanatic. And sometimes fans are a little over the top, By the way, I get an email anytime I say the word fan. Someone will say, how dare you call people fans? You're a fan of true crime. That's why you're here, right? I mean, it is. I consider you guys crew members and family. I really do. But make no mistake. You're here because you're a fan of that. Yeah, it is weird that people go out of their way to help people and then those people trash them. But that's the nature of the beast. Here's the other thing. You do realize Casper hasn't made that decision, but I'm going to let you know whether or not he decides to go with Casper or Sam. And I respect, look, if someone's trans and wants to be called Mary, I did it in prison. I'll call you whatever you want to be called. Why would I want to bust someone's chops about what they want to be called? That's your damn business, man. I'll call you whatever the hell you want. But I love the fact that you guys care. And I love that Steelers Princess just made 5 people turn green because everybody looks better in green. Night Yard will be at 7:00 Mountain Standard Time today. Yes, that is correct, isn't it? Now you got me confused. It is at the normal boat time, whatever that is, Kristen Melinda. It's going to be at the normal boat time. Thank you, Cinderella's glass slipper. What a kind thing to say. I really appreciate it. So, yes, no good deed goes unpunished, especially on the internet. But you know something? I'm having fun again, kids. I really am. I'm having fun again. This there was some ugliness and some hate and some things going on. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. But I'm excited for where we're at. This is a year where the lowlives on planet Earth are going to have to pay. Truth will win out in 2025. Make no mistake. Truth will win out in 2025. Yes, that is the normal time. Thank you, Kristen Melinda. We will be there. It's going to be me. It's going to be Casper, Sam, and my friend Russ, the state California dude. Have your questions ready, and we will see you all there at the normal squirrel time on the normal squirrel channel. And if you guys haven't checked out Johnny Scoville playing with the cat earlier, go over to Chase the Heat. It is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm not exaggerating. All right, people, between now and the next time I see ya, reach out and try to save somebody. God bless.